Well, welcome. I'm Tom Laux, Communications Director, City of Marshfield. Thank you for joining me. And it's our council preview program today. It's the second council meeting of the month that we're going to be talking about. And it's coming up September 27th. That's a Tuesday. We're taping this on the Thursday before. My two guests are Steve Barg and Lois T. Strake, our mayor and our city administrator. Thanks for coming.
Good to be here, Tom.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming. And we're going to go deep dive into this agenda. Again, I always tell people it can change a little bit because it's not official as of until Friday. And then it becomes official because it's sent out by our clerk.
Correct.
All right, well, let's get right into one piece. I'm going to go right to Lois first, public comment. That's a piece that she does. I think it's really important. You welcome members of the public. What do they do?
Basically, before the meeting, there's an orange piece of paper in the back of the room. They sign their name and their address, and then they come up to the podium and they get a 5-minute time to give their public comment. And I actually do time it on my cell phone because that makes it fair for everybody in the room. Some people go way under, so I would like to stretch it out, but yet again, it's not fair for the next person. I would love to see more people give citizen comment. I've had a few phone calls, and I wish you'd come forward and just let us know some of the positive things I've heard. More people in the city need to hear these things, and I get excited when that happens. So if you can please come and let us all know, that would be great.
All right. Well, I welcome that that you do that, and I'm sure our residents welcome that as well. Well, let's move right into item E as it is in the agenda now, presentation of Historic Stewardship Awards. And that is to a former council member, Tom Budke, and Eric Nelson. What's that about, Steve?
Well, you know, Tom, every year the Historic Preservation Committee honors a couple of individuals in the community that have gone out of their way. I mean, there's a lot of people in this community who are wired to historic preservation type things and making this a better community and really taking pride in our heritage. And Tom Budke, I'm not sure exactly what the award's for, but Tom Budke has a passion for veterans and probably seniors too, but certainly for veterans. And I think he's done a lot in the last year that probably will be recognized, especially about veterans from our community. I'm not sure what either the award for him or for Eric is from, but it's great to see a time where you say, hey, look, thank you for what you've done to make this a better place. It's already a great place to live, work, and play, but thank you for your effort to go over and above to really celebrate our heritage and our history.
All right. We'll hear about that from Vicki Schnitzler coming to the podium as our chair of Historic Preservation.
Correct.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about staff updates here. This is a piece that has been talked about in either committee, maybe on the council floor. I don't remember. I know I've heard about it, about parking concerns at 8th and Hemlock. I think it came up when we were talking about speed bumps.
Well, no, actually
Maybe
we were talking about a property at 8th and Hemlock that the city used to own and sold, and there have been some concerns about what the ultimate use of that property might be. But the reason for this agenda item, Tom, is because during their presentation, several of the speakers talked about the traffic flow, the parking problems right there by the middle school, right near 8th and Hemlock. They talk about how congested it is, you can't find a place to park, driving behavior is erratic, and they really wanted staff to look at it. So I talked right after that to the police chief and the city engineer about maybe coming together with a report to show what are the conditions and what could we do to make it better. Could we maybe block off more parking spaces? Could we have more traffic enforcement? Could we do whatever? So this will be a report on what was found by our staff in terms of what's happening there and what the city could do to hopefully make it a little bit better. And I'm not sure what Tom's report is going to be. I'm sure it will be factual based upon what we observed. And then I think it'll be maybe looking at what the alternatives might be, if any.
All right. Well, let's hope that it's a good dialogue and anyone can learn from what Tom has researched recently on.
Yeah, it does sound like that area by the middle school is pretty crazy, at the 7:30, somewhere in there, and then at the end of the day, too, when the students are being let out of school. So, it'd be nice to get a report, find out what's really happening, and see if there's anything we can do to maybe alleviate any problems.
All right. Well, let's move right into consent agenda. There are a few things I wanted to talk about. Follow the Board of Public Works meeting that was held on Monday of this week, and there's a piece in there talking about electric vehicle charging stations. And as we all know, electric vehicles are becoming more popular, And there's a piece, I think, that does the state provide some money for that?
Yeah, and Wheelers here in town locally is tapping into some of those funds. And the bigger picture, Tom, is that the federal government is trying to do some things to try to buy down the cost of electric vehicles. And if they figure if they get the cost down a little bit, more people will buy them. It'll be good for the environment, all that stuff. So Wheelers has been able to get the authority to purchase 5 of these chargers, total of about $22,000 to put in our community. And every one of them you can connect for 2 vehicles. So there's 10 different charging units that would be available. They need to be on public places. So we met about a month or 2 ago with Nick Cum from Utilities and a variety of people, Jill Porter from the library, trying to see what sites the city might have that are public places that could be used for the chargers. They do require some space. You have to have enough space for disabled access to the charging stations, and causes some traffic and parking concerns. But the 5 are Wildwood Zoo, the parking lot west of the community center, the central parking lot downtown, Brame Park, and Stephen J. Miller Park. That there's enough room at these locations to set aside a couple of parking spaces, whatever it takes, to be able to do this. The city's cost will be very little. I mean, it's really being borne by the Wheelers purchase, and then $30,000 has been committed by Marshfield Utility Commission to construct the infrastructure needed. Our part will be just kind of dealing with the more maintenance type of things. We can charge a small amount for per hour cost only for people to connect. We can't charge them the utility actual fee for the electricity, but we can charge them like $4 per hour or something. But our cost over the time period will be pretty minimal compared to the city budget. So it'll be exciting to see what comes from this and how many people really do make use of these charges and buy electric vehicles, and where this all goes.
Yeah, you're seeing more electric vehicles in town, quite a few, more than I've noticed in maybe previous communities. A lot of it, I think, is maybe the clinic. A lot of people have those over there. I've seen those. Tesla is.
Yep.
Are you going to get one of those, Steve?
I'm still driving my 2005 Saturn right now, Tom. That's probably why you said it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, people love my car when it pulls in the parking
But
lot.
that's all right. That's good. No,
I'm just happy that it runs on anything,
yeah,
okay?
No, I think electric cars are great. I did.
But
have,
yeah, no,
I had
exciting.
one. I had one for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
didn't
was
know
great, but it did have the gas. It was a Volt.
Okay.
And wonderful. You could charge it, and I could run on full charge from about 42 miles. So,
Wow.
And that was in 2012. Pretty high-end car back then to do that.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
Yeah.
We might get another one, but we'll see where it goes.
Well, if I can go on,
Yeah.
the premise for putting these in public places, like Stephen J. Miller and downtown, is that people, you need to be charging for a couple of hours.
Yep.
So where do you have people for a couple of
Correct.
hours? Well, downtown, while they're eating and shopping. Well, maybe at the park while they're watching their kids' baseball games.
Mm-hmm.
So these are places that will have people in a stationary location, presumably, for a couple of hours, long enough for their vehicles to charge.
Yeah, especially if they're coming out of town.
Correct.
And they are running those.
Correct.
That's where you need it, because if you can get another hour and a half charge, you can get home.
Yeah,
Because
right.
if you don't have a gas motor and you don't have electricity, you're not going home.
That's true.
Yeah, well, we look forward to it. So hopefully maybe they'll yet be put in this year, or not sure.
I don't know the timeline on that, but there's definitely an urgency to get them purchased by us, and then I don't know how long it takes to be installed and everything put in place.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll see if anybody has any comments in there. Otherwise, that will go through our consent. Is there anything else in consent that you wanted to bring up here? Oh, I know I wanted to bring up is the Planning Commission. There's a new restaurant that we're hoping to get here, and part of it came through here on a piece on our plan, I guess. What's that? Who is that? And what is that?
Want to comment on that one?
Slim Chickens is the name of the restaurant. We are going to be the second in the state of Wisconsin. The first one is being built in Appleton, and they're hoping to break ground later this fall, more towards maybe like December-ish. And they're excited, we're excited, glad that things have gone through. Yet one more place to eat, and it's something completely different from what we have in Marshfield. How exciting, right?
Yeah, that'll be another good addition to the North End commercial area. And we look forward to having them in town. They had to go for a conditional use permit because of some site plan things they had to work through. But I agree with exactly what Lois said. It's very exciting for our city.
Yeah, something different to go to, and brings in some new things, which we all want.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's move in beyond now our our consent area, move into some of these items that you have taken out that may have recommended action. Some do, some don't. Let's just go right into this piece, Lois. Last council meeting we heard about from 4, I believe, commissioners, or not commissioners, but wannabe commissioners. For
Correct.
the utility. What is that about?
Well, Tuesday evening, we will have the election of the utility commissioner. We had 3 of the 4 candidates came to the last council meeting, which was the 13th, if you want to go back and see how they sold themselves for this commission. Our 4th candidate was not able to be there, so Steve stepped in and read his summation. So again, Tuesday night will be exciting. We'll get our new next commissioner, or maybe an old commissioner. Time will tell how things are going to work out. But I was very, very happy to hear and see that we had 4 people that stepped up for this position. So we have some really, and they're all 4 good candidates.
Yeah.
They all have their own representations, which to me is good. They're not all just a block, it's like a square. There's some extra sides to each one of the people. So it'll be interesting to see how the council votes Tuesday evening.
Yeah, and I think you said it really well that night at the meeting, Lois, back on the 13th, that the really exciting part of this, no matter who is selected, is having 4 candidates come forward, put their name in the hat, say, hey, look, I'd like to do this. I'd like to commit time and energy to the community, give back to the community that's done a lot for me. Here's my skills, here's my qualifications, here's my background. They're all good candidates, and I'm very hopeful that whoever doesn't get picked will continue to be engaged with us. Maybe there'll be an opening on the Fire and Police Commission. Maybe there'll be an opening on the Library Board, that they'll continue their interest further down the line.
Correct. And one more thing, with this commission, it's a 5-year commitment. So that's a pretty big commitment. But yet again, when you're thinking of the utilities, you need more than 2 or 3 years because you have to get in with everything that's happening. So yes, excited to see which one of you 4 wins on Tuesday. And again, like Steve said, even if you aren't the candidate, we would still love to see you on another committee or a commission because we have every year somebody comes up.
We have openings all the time. We have people who either move out of town for their work or maybe they have a health issue or whatever it is, but we have people turning over, and then every April we have some people who say they just don't want to be reappointed, and the mayor has the opportunity to find out who's interested and try and get some new blood on there. So please stay engaged.
Yeah, and the easy way is just contact the mayor's office. If you're not there, Amy would be able to take that name down for something down the road. So don't be afraid to give us a ring if you're interested, even if there isn't something a little bit different than employment that we don't call when there's no jobs, but this one is different. So put your name in the hat maybe for down the road because it will be here. Guaranteed.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, there's another piece in here that came out is the cell phone policy. This must have been something that came up at the end of a council meeting, right?
It did. We have an item after closed sessions, when we have a closed session, it's called items for future agendas. And that's where any council member can say, hey, look, I'd like an upcoming agenda to have an item to talk about this. And oftentimes, council will bring up some things that we've been through before they want to revisit. We've seen that with things like the firearms in City Hall or the chicken ordinance or whatever, where something has been discussed, gets a return visit later. Well, in this case, Tom Witzel, one of our council members, said, you know what, we adopted a policy a couple of years ago that says we're not allowed to use cell phones up here. And going back, the purpose for that, for those who might be newer to our program here, was because it was thought to be distracting. If you're supposed to be hearing the public, someone at the podium, and you're on your cell phone, also, are you communicating with people outside of the room about the topic? Somebody might be writing to you saying, oh, don't vote for this. Oh, really? Why? You're supposed to be focused only on taking input from people in the room. But Tom said, well, I can't access my calendar without going on my cell phone. And can we take another look at this policy and see if it still serves our purpose? So there's a one-page, I've shared it with the council and the mayor. They've seen it ahead of time. They'll see it again in the agenda packet. But that tells what our purpose was in doing this, why we're trying to control the use of electronic devices. But you can always use it for anything directly related to the meeting. If you're looking to try and look back on, what happened in the last meeting, if you can find it on your phone or your tablet or whatever, that's fine. We don't want people doing things that are not related to the meeting at hand.
Right. Well, it makes sense. Definitely does. So we'll see where that heads. At discretion of the council is put on here. So
yeah, it means they would have the right to try and make amendments to the policy right there. I don't think that'll happen. I think the most you'll see is maybe a general consensus that the thing needs to be revised in some way, but who knows what'll come from that.
Yeah. Well, when you started this, Steve, we didn't have to worry about that back then, right?
Yeah, you mean when I started my career?
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, we
Not trying to point anything out,
just
but
took out those rotary phones and people could hear us moving our fingers. And so.
Right.
no, I mean, it just, it's
You know, those
so-
tin cans,
Yes.
it's really
Yeah,
easy
there
to
you
tell when
go.
people were communicating with each other.
sometimes that works.
But, you know, being serious, being serious for a moment, this is when we adopted this a few years ago, this was considered to be pretty important because people need to know that the members of the council and the mayor are focused on them, that when they talk to each other, they're listening to each other. When someone's at the podium, they're clued in. They're not communicating with people outside the building, whether it's personal or even work-related, where it's like, well, I'm going to vote on this. What do you think about this, Joe, my neighbor? That's not how business is supposed to be transposed. So it's a good idea. We'll just see now if they want to tweak it.
I think it's a good idea no matter what, not even with council. People put their phones down when they're talking to somebody because I come from that school that I'm going to be honest, it looks rude. I'm just going to say it. And
It does.
I here in colleges now, a professor will collect all the phones.
Really?
Yes.
They'll do that?
So
Great.
yeah, give me your phones. You're done.
Yep.
And they can. It's their classroom, I guess. But
Sure.
I
Well,
just,
and we all know that you could get an emergency. And I think this came up the first time we talked about it. What if my husband or wife is trying to get a hold of me, and because they got hurt and they're in an accident, can you not see that I'm trying to send them a text from the hospital or something? So I mean, that might come up again too. We were never trying to keep people from getting emergency messages. We never told them they couldn't have their phone sitting next to them.
Right.
We just don't want you sitting on it.
we might have to get an emergency phone there for the clerk. That
Oh,
they could
yeah.
call
Oh,
and
the red phone.
and a phone that you'd only know, and she would be the only one that would take that emergency
Yeah,
message
yeah.
if there was
Right,
that
and
kind
who
of.
knows,
We
correct.
could. I just
Right.
bringing up ideas. So anything else? What else am I
ma'am,
missing here?
Ma'am, that can wait till after
Yes.
the meeting. Bye.
Yes, it might happen. We wouldn't. Yeah, you publish the number, and
That's right.
I'm sorry, that probably won't work.
Like a pepperoni with extra.
Don't give
And by the
me.
way,
extra
how
cheese.
are the Brewers doing?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, that
Same
could
thing.
happen.
True.
All right, so we went through that. Really, this is a short agenda this time, which is good.
It is. I can touch real briefly on one closed item. It's
Okay.
2 weeks ago we had discussion of the possible sale of a piece of property the city owns, and that allows us to go into closed session. It's negotiating, and this may or may not be ready for the next meeting on Tuesday night, but I've got it on there just in case. If that's going to happen, there would have to be an agreement on what the responsibilities of both parties would be as part of the sale. That may or may not come to pass. We're not talking about a very large parcel of land. It's a small piece, but it might help one of our companies continue to grow and develop and improve their business, and that would always be a good thing if all the details can be worked out. So that might be discussed on Tuesday night, or it might be pulled at the last minute if an agreement is not actually ready.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, as Lois had said. Please come down. We'd love to have you there. It's
Yes.
important.
Please do.
And if you want to speak on something that's on your mind that you want the council to be aware of, or the public, that public comment period is the time. You just ask them to sign in, and away you go.
Correct.
Yep, and if I can put in one more plug for the budget meetings that are coming up, we'll be having a lot of conversations, Tom, you and I will,
Yep.
with Lois as well, sitting here together. But if you have any interest at all in what we do, what you'd like to see us do, as far as maybe improvements around your area, or whatever you think about taxing and spending, please give us your ideas. We're going into a difficult scenario as far as trying to make the budget work. We may have to make some tough decisions that Lois and her peers will have to be on top of, but we want your input. We want to know what's important to you. What things do you definitely want us to do in the year ahead, and how do we spend our money? We want it to be something that you weigh in on.
All right. Well, with that said, Steve, again, thank you, and thank you, Lois, for coming by. I appreciate it. We'll get to do this coming up again next month, already October, and by then, I think our budget pieces are going to start by then.
Yep.
So maybe we'll be talking about that with the public.
Big coming together.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks again, and thank you for joining me here on our council preview program.
See you Tuesday.